Well, hi there. So in this video, we're going to do a couple of practice problems related to drawing the money market and the reserves market. So let's get started. Okay, so the first question says a drop in credit card fees causes people to use credit cards more often for transactions and demand less money. So the key part here is going to be demand less money, right? Credit cards are not money. And so people are basically using credit cards instead of money. And it says banks operate with limited reserves. So this probably keys me in. We're going to be drawing the money market. In the space at right, use the regular money market to show the effect of the change. All right, so we're going to draw a money market. And the last lecture, we talked about that you can use lowercase I as basically the price. So I think that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to put our supply curve. And then this is the money market. So the demand curve is just that normal looking downward slope. Now we do need an intercept. So we're going to put I star as what that equilibrium is. And then it tells us that people demand less money. So I'm going to shift that demand curve inward as a decrease is always to the left. And that's going to cause the interest rate to decrease. It says, given the interest rate change, what will happen to the price level in the short run, right? So what's going to happen to inflation? And if interest rates fall, we can say, therefore, consumption and investment will go up, and therefore aggregate demand would go up, and therefore price levels would go up. And so that's going to be our answer here, is that price levels would rise because in the aggregate demand and aggregate supply model, you would have more aggregate demand because of that lower interest rate. Given the interest rate change, what will happen to bond prices? Well, we know that if interest rates go down, therefore the inverse is true about bond prices must go up. And then last but not least, identify an open market operation that could return the interest rate to its original level. Well, what's going to make the interest rate go back up again? Thinking about open market operations, that means buy or sell bonds. And so you got a 50-50 shot with this question. And for us, we want the interest rate to go up. And so we would say sell bonds, therefore the supply of money decreases, therefore interest rate goes back up. And so what that would look like in our graph, and it didn't ask us to show it, is if the curve shifted to the left and we went back right up to that I star level. Let's take a look at number 2. The banking system operates with limited reserves. The economy is in below full employment. They buy 50 million in bonds on the open market. At right, use the label of the money market, blah, 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 blah. So I'll show what this looks like. Interest rate, money demand is downward sloping because it's the money market. And we're going to put our supply of money right here. And then just to make sure we're doing it, we got to put our I star, put our equilibrium interest rate. Now it says at right, using a labeled graph of the money market, show the impact of the bond buying, right? Bond buying, bigger money supply. Buy bonds, bigger supply of money. That's how we can remember that. So when we shift the supply curve to the right, which was what we're going to show, shift to the right, we should see a lower interest rate as a result. We'll just say I2 because I meant to write I star there and I already had an I star. So we'll just put an S2 just to make that consistent. All right, and what's the impact of the bond purchase on short run price levels? Well, it's the same answer as we just did just a moment ago. I should probably have changed that up. If interest rates go down, therefore consumption and investment go up, therefore aggregate demand goes up, therefore price levels go up. Based on your answer in B, which is price levels go up, people with fixed incomes better off, worse off, unaffected. We know that they are worse off because price levels increased and income was fixed. Therefore, real wages decreased. That's probably an over-explanation for this concept, but I think it would work. Assume instead that banks operate with ample reserves. And so in that context, we're going to be having a reserve market. We'll draw that in a moment. But how could they return the economy to full employment output here? Well, remember, they're in a recession. We're in a recession as we're below full employment. So what would be the tool that we would use? This is coming from 8.3. We would want to lower administered rates. Now, some students are going to just want to say lower interest rates, but that's not a answer that would be acceptable. We need actually the word administered here because we're trying to be specific that we're talking about that price floor and that price ceiling. Price, floor, and ceiling on the policy rate. And so what we're actually adjusting are the price floor and the price ceiling, and that's causing the policy rate to change. At right, draw a correct labeled graph of the reserve market and show that. And so we're going to put Q and policy rate over here, because that's really the rate that's in the reserve market is the policy rate. And we're going to have a kind of weird looking demand curve. This is the one where it's kind of got a funky shape to it, but I think we'll be all right. And then here, and S and D. And then we're lowering administered interest rates. So we're going to draw a second one, and it's going to track along there and then come back down. Whoop. It's kind of a fun one to draw. Once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. And then we're going to show that decrease in the policy rate. So from PR star to PR1. And again, connecting the dots on this one is a little tricky because realistically, you're going right on top of where that demand curve is. And so it's okay if you don't quite get it, but this is generally what that picture needs to look like. So hopefully this helped you with practicing graphing some of what these money markets and reserves markets look like. I'll see you next time.